Chi. I'm going to give a quick recap video for my adult beginner piano lesson. This is lesson 1, so we're pretty much starting off from scratch. First thing we want to talk about is your position at the piano. You should have a bench or a chair, and you should be sitting kind of on the edge of it. So you don't want to be sitting like flat like this. You're going to be on the edge. Your wrists should be up, and your elbows should be almost at a 90-degree angle. In piano, our fingers are numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Your thumbs are 1, your index fingers are 2, your middle fingers are 3, your ring fingers are 4, and your pinkies are your 5th finger. We have the musical alphabet, and this is how we notate the keys on the piano. So it goes A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then it repeats all the way across the piano. If you have a standard 88 key piano, you're starting with the A and your last note on the right is a C. Some of the shorter keyboards, that's not the case. It doesn't really matter. Just a fun fact. When we're sitting at the piano, we notice that it is a pattern, and something that can help you recognize these patterns is the groupings of black keys. Here we have 2 black keys, then there's 3, 2, 3, and so on and so on. So it helps us to remember that the letter for the key, the note before the 2 black keys, is C. The first note before the 3 black keys is your F. So you can remember C and F. And A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and so on. All right, so let's talk about the grand staff. This whole thing is called the grand staff. Here we have our treble clef. This is also known as the G clef. Then we have our bass clef. That is also known as the F clef. I will explain why in a moment. We're reading the treble clef. This is mainly going to be your right hand and pretty much everything that is middle C and above. The middle C is going to be right here. Then you're going to have notes going all the way across. Sorry. They will also come down the other way onto the bass clef. When we're reading sheet music and we're looking at the treble, we have our spaces and our lines. A way to remember the spaces is to think of face. And this is moving up. So we have F, A, C, E. And for the lines, a good mnemonic phrase. Every good boy does fine. We started that first line. E, G, B, D, F. For the bass clef, we have our spaces. All cows eat grass. All cows eat grass. And that is moving up. We are always starting at the bottom and moving up. So that would be all cows eat grass, A, C, E, G. And our lines is going to be grizzly bears don't fear anything. Grizzly bears don't fear anything. So that bottom line, G, B, D, F, A. It looks a little random, but if you notice, start with the A, you go up to the line, B to the space, C, D, E, F. And then, this one would be G, but we don't have the phrase for it. Down here, if you start with A, B, C, D, E, F, G, back to A. So, and this bottom one, this bottom guy right here would be F. It's the same pattern throughout but because they start in different places, that's why we use these to help us remember the differences. Middle C is kind of dividing the treble and the bass clef, but it's not an actual like straight division. Sometimes the bass clef flows above middle C. You might see this bottom note here. That would be your D. And sometimes the treble clef flows down into the bass clef a little bit. So this is a good spot to feel grounded, like this is where we're gonna move each direction, but it's not an actual split down the middle. I had stated that the reason it's middle C and we don't have middle A as the kind of center in piano is because back in medieval times they used minor scales more often, and that's when they created the piano and worked through a lot of the notation, and then they just left it as we shifted more into major scales. I did some more research. There are multiple answers to the question of why it's middle C, and I don't feel confident to tell you a definite answer. So it is what it is. You just have to be okay. So I'm gonna retract my previous statement and replace it with I'm not entirely sure.